and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium. Good evening. You are tuned in to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed. I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. Today's date is February the 25th, 2017. On this Saturday night, I hope that you all made it through the weekend okay, that everything went okay, that everything was productive, and you didn't get caught up by any of these slave catchers out there. We got a number of stories that I would like to share with you, what I feel like are very important stories, but not an exclusive list of important stories. There's something important always going on, but in the 2 hours that we have, we just simply cannot get to them all. So the main topic tonight that I want to discuss with you, I'll just go over some of the stuff that I have on the agenda for you. Tonight, the main topic tonight is immigration. We see a lot of activity being highlighted in the news. Now, I said it that way for a reason. That does not mean that this activity has not been going on, because the last CEO of USA Inc., y'all would know him as Barack Obama, deported more non-white people than several presidents combined. So it's not that this is anything new. Is just being highlighted with the person who is now the CEO of USA Inc., and that's Donald Trump. Now, this immigration issue is a complex one, in my opinion, for the black community, and it is not as simple as some would have us to believe. Now, I came across little short interview on RT Today, Russia Today. You had an activist in the Los Angeles area who was invited on to talk about these activities. And one of the things he talked about, if I recall correctly, but blacks in the LA area being terrorized by Mexican gangs. He also believes undocumented workers are part of the problem of high unemployment in the black community. That man is Ted Hayes. He's known as a civil rights homeless activist. And again, he did a little short interview. We'll share that with you. It was on RT America. And so, I mean, if you have any comments, any questions about this issue during the course of this broadcast, don't hesitate to chime in, especially looking to hear from other black people on this issue, because the immigration issue also is not just related to undocumented workers from south of the U.S. border. And the way that Muslims are being profiled is racist and it's religiously bigoted. The son, I don't know if y'all saw this story, but the son of famed boxer and black freedom fighter Muhammad Ali was detained for 2 hours at an airport and questioned by immigration officials, presumably simply because of his name. His name is Muhammad Ali Jr. and his religion. So I'll share that USA Today Network article that I came across early this morning about that. And I also did a little research on that. And I went to the U.S. Department of Justice website. Now, granted that the Department of Justice is under new leadership now, and they answer to the executive branch of the U.S. government. And we have a suspected racist. Some would say he's been confirmed as a racist. We're talking about Jeff Beauregard Sessions, who is in there as the Attorney General. And I could spend the whole 2 hours just talking about some of the stuff in that area under the Attorney General's office that's going to be coming out. But I went to the Department of Justice website to do a little research, and based off of what I found put out by the U.S. Department of Justice, that what happened to Mr. Ali Jr. could be interpreted as violating his equal protection rights under the U.S. Constitution. Now, this man is a U.S. citizen. Now, the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution seems to have been violated here due to their line of questioning. Again, questioning his Muslim name, questioning his Muslim faith, and he's a U.S. citizen. Not that that should be the only factor in this, but his rights clearly as a U.S. citizen under the U.S. Constitution have been violated. And again, this is why I say I don't care too much to hear people talk about the rule of the law and, you know, talk about lawbreakers and all that kind of stuff, because our government, I shouldn't say our government, that's not my government, but the government that is being run by USA Inc., which is actually a corporation, violates its own laws all the time, violates international law. So I just want to make an acknowledgement of that. But I am pointing out, though, that according to the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution, his rights were violated. And based off of what else the Department of Justice put out, they also may have violated the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968, which prohibits discrimination because of national origin, race, color, religion, or sex by a police department that gets federal funds through the U.S. Department of Justice. Now, these presumably would be federal enforcement officials, and they certainly would be covered by this. Also in the news today, just when I thought, you know, Hillary Clinton was going to go crawl back under that rock that she came from, she put out a video today interjecting herself in the current political climate. However, a new pay-to-play scandal has emerged, which is exclusively being reported by Radar Online. Radar Online has exclusively learned that the disgraced Politico secretly took cash from a New York-based weapon manufacturer, one who coincidentally secured a shady $418 million deal on the last day of the Obama administration. And lastly, the last thing that I want to bring to your attention during this broadcast, and again, the lines are always open for your questions and your comments, but lastly, people are up in defense of the U.S. corporate media. I've been seeing it on social media. I've also been hearing it on a couple of black radio programs. And I just don't understand why they want to come to the defense of U.S. corporate media just because they are in some kind of disagreement, if you will, with CEO of USA Inc., Trump, who recently banned CNN and a few other corporate media outlets from a White House presser. Again, I hardly see, especially black people, I hardly see how anyone can defend an institution, and I'm talking about the American news media here in the United States, that has been guilty of spreading racist hate in its newspapers, through its television broadcasts, have provided justifications for white terrorism, willingly participated in the demonization of freedom fighters, mostly non-white, and worked directly with the CIA in Operation Mockingbird. So my assessment is that the United States News Corporation or news media is no friend of black people, nor a friend of freedom anywhere in the world, and that is for sure. I don't know why people want to act like there is some kind of separation between the U.S. corporate media and the U.S. government, because really, it's not. It really is not. And those who have studied the history of the U.S. news media would know this to be true. I mean, all you really got to do is look up Operation Mockingbird. And like I say about all of these CIA or FBI or U.S. government illegal operations, anti-freedom, anti-liberty operations that they run, and they get discovered, and we hear, oh, they don't do it no more, they shut it down. No. Why are they gonna shut down something that's working so well for them? They don't shut it down. They act like they shut it down, and then they resurrect it, secretly until the next person blows the whistle on them. So that's some of the stories that I want to share with you today. Again, your comments, your questions are welcome. The telephone number, if you would like to participate, is 866-510-9025. That's 866-510-9025. You can also give us a call at 704-802-5056. That's 5056. That's 704-802-5056. If you are listening from the Black Talk Radio Network, found at blacktalkradionetwork.com, just check out the post for tonight's program. And if you're somewhere else in the world and you're worried about making a long distance or international call, you will see a link where you can find our international toll-free numbers, or you can use your computer headset and dial in to our conference line. So that is our program laid out for you tonight. But before I get into that, just want to share some quick news items that we shared. Most of this is posted in our social media community for the network, BTRcommunity.com, but I like to also share it through our other social media accounts as well. The family of an Indian man shot dead in Kansas says Donald Trump's immigration agenda is spreading racist sentiment. That may be true to a certain extent, but, let's not act like racism wasn't existing before Donald Trump's immigration policy was announced. Again, Barack Obama deported more non-white people than previous presidents combined. So, take that with a grain of salt. But that was an interesting article as one of those family members, again, they're from India. You had two Indians from India who were legally here working in the United States, were at a bar where this white man, I think he was like 56 years old, I think the article said, went in there and told them to get out his country and shot him. And one of them died. And so now you got the family member of one of them saying that they're telling people in India, don't send your children to the United States in this climate. Let me see. There is a lawsuit that is being brought against Louisiana over its public defender system. Definitely you should check out that video. There was an attorney, a legal journalist for the Trial Lawyer magazine. Her name was Molly Barrows. She gave an interview. I forget what news organization interviewed her, but she talked about Louisiana has the worst public defender system in the United States. Certainly that's something that we have covered on our weekly program, New Abolitionist Radio, which comes on Wednesday nights. We talked about Louisiana, but this is a problem that is not exclusive to Louisiana. This is a problem all over USA Inc., as you have the underfunding, the purposeful underfunding of public defender offices. We've always heard that they are overworked, underpaid, underfunded, understaffed, and it is an institutional problem when you have funding being directed away from the public defender system. So you definitely want to check that out, hear what she has to say. The Free Thought Project posted a video. I shared this video. It's a story that the American media, of course, has been silent about because all they are about is fake news and pushing state propaganda. But you got the son of Pablo Escobar. A lot of people in the black community know that name, Pablo Escobar. I think, they talked a lot about him in rap songs and stuff like that. But he was at one time one of the most notorious leaders of the drug cartels out of, I think it was Colombia. Colombia is where they were based at. So, but now his son is saying that his dad was working with the CIA. That they were working with the CIA to sell drugs to fund their dirty, off the books wars down there in South America, south of the border. And this is something that has continued to go on as, again, the American news media didn't tell you about it, but the largest paper in Mexico published a story after they did a lot of research and named their sources and what have you. But the United States Department of, Drug Enforcement, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Action Agency, But yeah, they had a deal with the Sinaloa cartel. That's a Mexican cartel. What was that guy's name? I can't think of his name now. I think he's in jail somewhere in Florida. They finally caught him. He escaped so many times. But he's the leader of the Sinaloa drug cartel. Well, the DEA cut a deal with his cartel that allowed them to smuggle drugs. And all they had to do was feed the DEA information on the rival cartel drug shipments. So DEA could then get these easy busts, have these photo ops, and act like, they really trying to stop drugs from coming into this country when they are not. Again, I repeat, they are not. They are engaged in drug trafficking. Okay? So I thought that was interesting that, again, are you seeing this story on MSNBC, ABC, NBC? That Pablo Escobar's son is telling how his dad worked with the CIA to traffic in cocaine so that they could fund their dirty wars, the same reason that they were behind the 1990s crack cocaine conspiracy, working with Ricky Freeway Ross and setting him up with some cheap cocaine connections. Again, so I don't understand why people trust the mainstream media to tell them what they need to know about anything. Here's a story that is local to my area. I thought it was pretty interesting. You had a Walmart store that opened here in Charlotte. I don't live in Charlotte, but when I say here, I live just outside of Charlotte. But they proposed to invest $24 million and create 1,000 new jobs at a new center in Charlotte to handle accounting and invoicing. Now, some of the management jobs would have paid $83,000 a year, but the vast majority, which equaled 908 positions, the average salary would have only been about $32,000 a year. So many of those positions, and this is like a standard business practice with Walmart, many of those 908 positions would qualify for taxpayer-supported affordable housing, which can be for people earning 80% of the area median income. For a family of two people, that's someone earning less than $32,160. So we have a lot of people, that are heading up families of more than two people who only make, around $30,000 a year. So it appears that 32,000 seems to be the median income for people in that area. Now, the city council, they talking about the Charlotte City Council, had approved in closed session $278,000 in subsidies for Walmart. But Mecklenburg commissioners balked at approving $483,000 in incentives for Walmart, with some officials concerned that the company didn't pay its employees enough. They don't, man. People who work at Walmart, for the most part, they qualify for food stamps, they qualify for subsidized housing, and all of that. So don't believe that myth, that everybody that's on welfare is just looking for a handout and what have you. A lot of these people were working full-time jobs. So it says that 2 Democrats joined with 3 Republicans in voting no. So they said, no, we're not going to give you that extra $500,000 in incentives. But guess what? They ended up putting a place there anyway. So that's just a huge problem in Charlotte. They've been subsidizing. This happens a lot with these sports franchises where you have billionaires who then get taxpayer money to build these stadiums. Okay? And that's just not right. You're a billionaire, invest your own money. Go to the bank, get a loan, put up some collateral. But no, it's taxpayers that's funding all of this. Here's another important story that I want to share with you. This comes from a press release that came from the Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee, and I will try to conduct an interview with some people on this, but we kind of talked about this not this past Wednesday, but the 2 weeks ago on our broadcast of New Abolitionist Radio, where we had one of the co-founders of the Free Alabama movement call into the program from the prison plantation, where I inquired about this man I'm about to read this press release about. So it says, the title says, Incarcerated Prison Strikes Leaders' Life Endangered by Hostile and Negligent Prison Officials. On December the 2nd at approximately 8:45 p.m., while in handcuffs and on the way to the showers, kinetic, and we're talking about kinetic justice, and I had to chop this down when I posted it to Facebook, because it wouldn't take it all. But the full press release I have posted to BTRcommunity.com. I believe I have. But it goes on to say, once inside the closet, Kinetic was shoved to the floor and pushed into a janitor's closet by a correction officer. Shoulders is his name. Once inside the closet, Shoulders began choking Kinetic while asking rhetorically, "You gonna tell so-and-so on me too?" Then another correction officer by the name of Dozer said, "Hold up, Shoulders, hold up." Reached around him and sprayed over half a can of mace directly into Kinetic's eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. The spray was so strong that Shoulders got off of Kinetic coughing. Both officers ran out the closet, leaving Kinetic laying on his back in a corner choking, and then called for backup. The entire incident was witnessed by 3 people already in the showers. Rather than reprimand the 2 officers, their supervisor, Sergeant Whitfield, refused to let Kinetic make a phone call or file a complaint against the correction officers, and again placed him in a day cell where he remained hidden for 5 days. Despite all of this, according to a recent visitor, Kinetic Justice is quite an inspiration. He's been in isolation for 37 months, has to wear shackles and a belly chain during exercise, but still strong and able to smile. Kinetic has filed repeated grievances to ensure his health and safety. The Free Alabama movement and the Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee call this an example of complete lack of regard by prison officials by people's safety, and demand that he be relocated from Limestone Correctional Facility. So this is going down in Alabama, as you might have gotten a clue when I said Free Alabama movement. So shout out to Brother Kinetic Justice. Stay strong, brother. Just know that we are, those of us who are on the outside, do have you on our minds, and we are doing things to assist you. All right, let me see. What else do we have? At Wisconsin juvenile prisons, children face a nightmare of solitary confinement and abuse. Children as young as 14 are sent to these units at the discretion of the staff for disciplinary reasons, including minor rule violations or for asserted security reasons. According to data from the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, from 15 to 20% of approximately 165 children at LHS and CLS are in solitary confinement at any given time, and some remain there for as long as 30 to 60 consecutive days. Again, the international community, psychiatrists have said that solitary confinement is torture, that you can suffer irreversible psychological damage from being subjected to solitary confinement for just 24 hours, that it can have an effect on you. All right, so that is some of the news stories. The last one, you got this right-winger by the name of Wayne LaPierre, who is longing for the days when those who leaked government info were hanged for treason. And my question was, does he also long for the other types of lynchings from the good old days? Make America great again. Yeah, right. And this story right here, though, this will also play into when I get to the part about Donald Trump and his beef with the corporate media. John Podesta, who is, number one, a lobbyist, him and his brother created the Podesta Group, and they actually would lobby on in addition to other clients they had Russia as their client, so they would be lobbying for Russia to Congress. Now, this man most recently was the campaign manager of one Hillary Rodham Clinton, you know, that wicked witch. And he has been hired by the Washington Post as a columnist. So again, this goes to show you ain't getting nothing but political propaganda from these websites. This is what I wrote about it. How does a rich lobbyist and a former campaign handler for Hillary Clinton qualify as a journalist? Is Podesta of the Podesta Group there to produce political corporate propaganda called opinion pieces for the party's sheeple? Operation Mockingbird is in full effect. All right, so, I got a few more minutes before we, no, I'm not taking the break till the top of the hour. Let me share this story, though. I don't know if y'all been seeing the news, but you've been having a lot of African on African violence going on in South Africa. I first saw this story a couple of days ago, as in South Africa, where you have an unemployment rate of 25%, you've had South Africans attacking Nigerians, Somalians, and I think some Pakistanis have also been migrating to South Africa. But you have been, I think, over 100 and something of these people have been attacked by South Africans telling them to get out their country. And so I'm asking the question, did Trump make xenophobia popular in Africa? Why are Africans blaming other Africans for unemployment and the lingering effects of apartheid? Does nationalism trump race in Africa? And again, this is why I tell people, don't think that there's just one big happy black family in Africa, like there's some kind of utopia going on over there. I pay attention to global news, and I do subscribe to a number of news organizations putting out news from Africa. African journalists reporting on this news. And so, some of us think, and it's mostly us here in Behind the Enemy Lines of USA Inc., and it has to do with the pressure that we're under, the continued enslavement and terrorism. And many of us, we want to escape. But again, don't think that you won't run into some of the same problems in Africa. And don't think that all Africans are going to welcome you with open arms, because they not. They not. Everybody does not have or subscribe to Pan-Africanism. Everybody does not. Okay? We are all not of the same mind on these issues. So we just have to be honest with our people, not telling anybody not to go anywhere. The whole planet is our home. You go wherever the hell you want to go. I'm not telling people not to migrate there, but just be aware of the things that are going on in the places that you plan to go. Because it seems to me right now, if you're not a citizen of South Africa, you ain't welcome there. I don't care what your melanation level is. They over there beating the hell out of Nigerians and Somalians and burning down their shops. So let's just be honest about these things. Let's see. All right, that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it that I shared today. Again, we have social media accounts. We have our own social media community, btrcommunity.com. You could join it for as little as $24 a year. It is not a network that's supported by advertisement. You don't see any kind of advertisement. Only thing you'll see is what the members post. And so that's how we hope to fund that is by offering these subscriptions, very low amount. Again, just $24 a year. That's equals what, about $2 a month. You probably pay more than that, for other stuff that you're involved in. All right, so let me get to the main topic. Even if I don't get to some of these other stories, this is really, really what I want to focus on. So the immigration issue for me is not a simple one. And I've been seeing people trying to portray it as a simple one. For black people, it is a very complex issue. Now, I sympathize and I have empathy for all people who are being mistreated, okay? Your skin color has nothing to do with whether or not I believe in justice or whether or not I acknowledge an injustice. It has nothing to do with it for me. That's just me, though. But as a black man, as a person who classifies themselves as black and identifies with black culture in this country, and I do consider myself part of the black community, even though I'm surrounded by crackers, it's not a simple issue for me. It's just not simple. All right, when especially when I hear from people like Mr. Ted Hayes, who raises some very, very valid issues. I can't tell this man he's wrong for seeing things the way that he sees them, because some of the things that he's witnessing there in Los Angeles, which I have heard about for years and have reported on them. But again, the mainstream media hasn't really been reporting on these Mexican gangs targeting black communities and terrorizing the people, trying to force black people to move out of their communities and what have you. And I found a report that was put out by the Southern Poverty, the Southern Poverty Leadership Conference or something, SPLC is the name of it. And I found an article where they had put out a report about blacks being terrorized by Mexican gangs on the orders of these Mexican crime lords and what have you. So again, this ain't a simple issue for us. And anybody who tries to say that it is, they really aren't really thinking about this deeply, or they're just falling behind the talking points of whoever's pulling their strings, whoever's yanking their chain. They're either giving you the Democratic talking points or they're giving you the Republican talking points. I'm going to give you my perspective, my own talking points. And I try to look at all things objectively. I try to be a evidence-based person and not try to be all up in my emotions whenever I'm trying to figure out some things. And the truth is, in my opinion, that these undocumented workers are harming us. They are harming the black community. When I start thinking about how hard it is for a black person who has been to prison and they had that permanent slave status, Even though they may have gotten out the prison plantation, they still been branded as a slave with that felony status. And I've read articles, and it's been, pretty much studies have been done to show that some of these employers will hire a white person who has a felony on their record before they'll hire a black person who hasn't ever been to prison. And then I started thinking about this when I was reading this article as they've been rounding up these undocumented people who have been convicted of crimes and deporting them. And in the article I was reading here, it was a North Carolina paper, they described these people as workers. They talked about one guy, he had been convicted for taking indecent liberties with a child. Another one had been convicted of armed robbery or something, but they had jobs. And I'm saying now, these people are undocumented and they've been convicted of crimes. How in the heck are they finding these jobs so easily when black people who have been labeled as felons and black people who are not felons have such a hard time finding jobs? And I'm also kind of sick of hearing black people who repeat what these racist crackers who don't give a damn about these people. They don't care about these immigrants except for the cheap labor that they provide. But when I hear black people talking about, well, we get rid of them, who gonna pick the vegetables? Fool, you'll pick the vegetables. That's who will pick the vegetables if they wasn't paying slave wages. And I was thinking about this. I was like, you know what? These undocumented agricultural workers, but let's stop pretending like that's the only jobs that they're doing, because I worked in the construction industry for a few years when I lived in Charlotte. And let me tell you, they're doing those jobs too. Some of them couldn't even speak English on the job, which is dangerous in the construction business, especially the type of construction that I was involved in. All right. So, but I started thinking, I was like, these undocumented agricultural workers, really, they like the 21st century sharecroppers. Do I have to tell y'all the history of sharecropping and how black people after the Civil War were exploited through sharecropping? How is this any different? I remember Venezuela calling out the United States at one of these UN things that they were having, and they put on the table saying that the United States was allowing slavery to be practiced against these undocumented immigrants. It is slavery. I came across stories the other day where you had American companies who go to Mexico, they recruit these people with promises of good paying jobs, smuggle them across the border, and then once they get them on their farms, they hold them as slaves. Don't allow them to leave the farms, lock them up at night, in these little trailers. This is the stuff that's going on. So when I don't want to hear that you care about these people and stuff like that, because if you really cared about them, then you wouldn't allow slavery to be practiced against them. You wouldn't allow them to be exploited like that. It ain't that Americans won't do these agricultural jobs. It's just that, especially black Americans, we ain't picking nobody's nothing for no slave wages. We ain't gonna do it. And nobody should. But I hardly find that they're able to exploit people like that as a reason for allow it to continue. Who gonna pick the vegetables if they all get deported? You sound stupid. You really do sound dumb. You sound like white people control your mind. For a black person to say something like that, who gonna pick it? And then, while I was talking about this over the week, I had a person, I think they was black, They was putting themselves out there was black. They started sounding like racist crackers talking about the same stuff, talking about black people being lazy, black people won't do hard work, they got a poor work ethic and all this and that. And then I saw it again today on YouTube on this video from some people. They didn't have no picture or nothing, but they had Spanish names, and they were saying the same racist stuff about black people. Oh, black people got a poor work ethic and all this and that. Well, you know what I say to you? I hope they do snatch your ass up and deport you. Because you just a racist just like these crackers. So, again, this isn't a simple issue for me. I have empathy for people. And I have worked with Hispanic activists on the issue of 21st century slavery and human trafficking. I do not want to see these people rounded up to be put into these private prisons and turned into slaves. I don't want to see that because I'm against slavery, period, in all its forms. But on this issue of immigration and these undocumented workers, it's not a simple issue. It is not simple for me, especially when I see how people who look like me are being treated. So, let me share this article from Mr. Hayes. I see you, Brother Rob. I think that's Brother Rob. After we hear from Mr. Hayes, I'm going to come straight to you, bro, so hang in there with me. But let's go ahead and cue up this video of Mr. Ted Hayes, a civil rights homeless activist who works in Los Angeles. He spoke to RT America's Manila Chan about the issue. So let me go ahead and get that.
As soon as I left the hospital.
Of course, it's going to play some ads, so let me let this ad get by, and we'll go ahead and jump to this interview. Again, this is from RT America. This is the source of this video and this interview.
Americans believe they're competing for jobs with a growing number of undocumented immigrants. That's according to a Rasmussen report survey conducted just last August. The poll also showed a racial divide between whites and blacks, showing that most white people do believe immigrants are taking jobs away from them, while most black respondents disagreed. To discuss this, we're being joined now by Mr. Ted Hayes. He's a civil rights activist. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Hayes. So can I ask you about this? Do you agree or disagree with the poll? Do you think, do African Americans think that illegal immigrants take jobs away from them?
Absolutely. I don't know where this other person's getting their information from, but I'm on the ground out here in Los Angeles. We call L.A. Occupy Los Angeles because we have lost all of our rights. Essentially, black people in L.A. have been indemnified. We can't even go in the neighborhoods that were once black for fear of getting shot, beaten up, threatened, what have you. So, no, and it's not just about jobs, it's about housing, education, health care. It's about our 14th Amendment birthright that they're stealing from us. And I don't blame the people. I do not blame the people. I blame my government for failing to protect us according to the Constitution of the United States.
Well, do you agree with President Trump, then, that illegal immigration hurts black citizens more than it does other Americans?
Oh, there's no question about it. And not just in the physical realm of jobs and housing, health care, but it's the whole realm of our identity. For example, you've heard of anchorism, that is anchor babies, women that come to the country illegally and they have a baby and that child becomes a citizen. That is totally wrong. That belongs to the freed slaves.
Hold on, you're saying you're talking about anchor babies. I want to touch on that. So you are against the so-called anchor babies, the babies that were born in the United States, given our Constitution, a constitutional right that those children are American citizens. So you disagree with that law?
That is not true. They've twisted that. It's a custom. If you please take the time and you go to my website and you can study tedhayes.us. They have twisted the 14th Amendment to mean them, and it's not. Read the Civil Rights Act of 1866, where it identifies slaves. That was who it's for. It's been a custom, and we're going to prove it real soon. And it's unfortunate that these poor people have been lied to and deceived. It's like someone stealing something from somebody else and giving it to you you, and you did not know it was stolen until you find out later the real owner comes and says, hey, you have my property.
So you're saying that this is somehow that law was misinterpreted, and that
absolutely.
So you're saying the children that are born here, they to illegal immigrants should not be here.
They are what we call presumed citizens based on a custom that is not law, and it has to be rescinded at some point, because if not, we black people are going to be eliminated. We are already genocide in the minds of many people in this country. Whenever the issue of immigration, whether legal or illegal, comes up, you never hear them say, how does this affect black people? You're the first ones that's really brought us into the conversation, and I hope to be able to add more to this conversation as time goes on.
Now, I got to ask, Mr. Hayes, are you against immigration in general? Are you concerned about losing, like you said, jobs, losing housing, healthcare, education, political power, et cetera, to illegal immigrants? Are you against it in general?
I am against illegal immigration, which I do not consider illegal immigration. I consider it an invasion, an occupation of our country, particularly in the inner cities, which are called so-called sanctuary cities. That is coming after us. It's an invasion. When it comes to legal immigration, sure, come to the front door. Article 1, Section 8 is for the willing immigrants. The 14th Amendment is for the people who were once slaves in this country, and it can't go on like that. Oh, one more point about that. A lot of immigrants come to this country, and they claim minority status, which therefore gives them civil rights access to something that does not belong to them. And we black folks, we chattel slave descendants, are being pushed further and further and further into the shadows of American society.
But Mr. Hayes, I think a lot of people...
So we need to straighten that up as well.
I would argue, though, Mr. Hayes, that a lot of people that say civil rights are human rights, don't you think a lot of people, whoever they are as people in the United States, deserve a certain level of dignity and rights?
Yes, they do deserve a level of dignity and right. They should not be tortured. They should not be harassed. But if I walk into your house, if I walk into Russia without proper authorities allowing me to do so, I will, and you punish me for that, I deserve what I get. If I break into your house and get caught, I deserve what I get. And it's unfortunate for these children that their parents are bringing them into this very volatile and dangerous situation.
Mr. Hayes, what about this, though? There are many people that are watching this that are going to say that a lot of immigrants themselves are the job creators. They create the jobs, not taking the jobs, especially there in Los Angeles. I got to tell you, I'm a Los Angeles native myself, so I can tell you there's a lot of immigrants, both legal and illegal, who are the job creators. What do you say to those people?
I have no problem with that at all, but if they're here illegally, no, it's null and void. For example, if I rob the bank today, and then next week I start giving money out to people, to the poor, the homeless, building hospitals, does that absolve me of my crime? No, it does not, folks. It does not. And that is a problem. People, look, I can't go to Mexico or Guatemala or El Salvador or Russia or Persia or North Korea or China and do what these folks are doing here. And again, it's not their fault. It's the fault of my own federal government for not living up to the Constitution to protect us. We are a protected class, not because of our skin color, not because of our minority-majority status, but because of the cruel way in which immigrant people brought us into this country as slaves against our will to serve immigrants for almost 400 years. And look at the state of black people now in this country. Look at us. Is that right?
All right. Mr. Hayes is making a lot of sense to me. I did some background research on the 14th Amendment, and he is right. The intent of the 14th Amendment was to convey citizenship to the slaves of pre-1865. Again, slavery was never abolished. Human trafficking still goes on. It has been legalized through the 13th Amendment, but the 14th Amendment was expressly written to convey citizenship status to the victims of slavery. So he is right. People talk about the intent of the framers or the intent of the law. So he's right. He's right. The 14th Amendment was strictly written to convey citizenship status to the victims of slavery in this country. And it wasn't passed that easily, as the Confederate states, again, traitors who Lincoln allowed to help write the 13th Amendment that allowed slavery to continue in a different form through the prisons, but they had to be threatened in order to ratify the 14th Amendment. They were not going to be allowed representation in Congress unless they ratified the 14th Amendment. So Mr. Hayes is correct in his assessment of the 14th Amendment. Now, I want to also talk about terrorism from some of these immigrants directed at the black community. But before that, let me go to the phones and I think this is Rob joining us, area code 414. Thank you for calling in to BTR News. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Hey, good evening, brother Scotty.
Good evening, Rob.
How's it going?
I'm doing the best I can behind these enemy lines, bro.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in quickly. Down here, the Milwaukee public school system is switching to uniforms throughout the whole school system. And, I find that very interesting. You wear the same clothes in prison and in the military. And, down here, where it is the spot where the most black men are being locked up per capita, and over 50% unemployment for the black males, and amongst one of the worst zip codes in the nation, 53206. So, this coming down is very, very interesting. A lot of people, because poverty is so widespread down here, a lot of people looking at it as relief, the parents. And, I see it the opposite. I see it the opposite way. And I wanted to touch on the immigration that you spoke about. When I was in high school, it was 1997. I had a familiar rapport with a Mexican teacher, and I was goofing off in the hallway one day, and she stopped me and said, black people should be careful about losing a minority spot. And I looked at her confused. I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. And I said, what you mean? And she said, well, black people would be in Mexicans' position. And then I understood exactly what she was talking about. And as I look and observe right now, the quote-unquote Mexicans are the biggest minority population. And I heard a Mexican lady on Gus program before that worked in the school system. I think she was out of Detroit. And she actually said that, in her opinion, Mexicans are the preferred minority right now. And I would agree with that. And it seems that the attack has not only been on the black male, more and more the black female, and more the children. You got these things going on with like Officer Slam and, all of these different things, man, with children being abused and murdered. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Down here, I'm just concerned right now. And we also had a situation before where we had some white males walking the streets, and it's in the heart of the ghetto, with AK-47s, you understand, going door to door, talking about they was informing people about their gun rights, right? And so some black people saying them and said, yo, why don't you take that stuff down here on 33rd Street? And the procedure was, man, they went right over on 33rd Street with the AKs in hand. And my question is this, and I'll mute my line with this. If somebody comes to your door, more specifically, if a white person comes to your door with an AK and you're not able to defend yourself, man, what's to stop them people from taking you somewhere and doing whatever the hell they want to do with you?
It's nothing.
Thank you for listening.
It's nothing to stop that from happening. Actually, yesterday, let me say a couple of weeks ago, my cousin, I heard him. He stays like 2 houses over from the house I live in. It's mostly all my family members right there in a row in this part. And so I heard him say, "Get off my effing property," because I heard somebody shooting. And one of them crackers from the trailer park was up there in the woods on his property shooting. So I had to go down there. My other cousin came so we could get this person off the property. Then I heard shooting again yesterday. And so I started thinking, let me keep a lookout, looking down, because I could see straight down to my cousin's yard, because they always out in the yard cooking out or something. And I was like, man, what could stop these people with, from just running up on them and gunning them down? And I was like, man, we need to be on full red alert. We should always be on red alert. But I'm like, now, with these people feeling so emboldened and what have you, and then what happened in Kansas the other night, I'm be honest with you. If that was to happen on this street and some white person with a AK-47 step foot on this property and making their way to my door, they likely to get shot. Okay? They likely to get shot where they stand. I'm just going to be real about that. We got a call from area code 423. Thank you for calling in to BTR News. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Hey, Scotty, this is Jared. I'd like to say, hey, how you doing to you and also to the brother that just spoke. I agree with both of you. And, you be speaking on the slavery for everybody. And I be agreeing with you. But as far as this immigration part, I agree with Mr. Hayes. I had never actually heard of him. I'm going to have to look him up and see if we related in some form or fashion. But he is speaking to the same thing that I was just having this conversation, because when you look at immigration, they shun the people that look like us, and they let everybody else in. That's how they operate. It's almost to a numbers game. And when you start, if you hear any of those stark white supremacists, they'll tell those immigrants that they're not white. It was just an instance where it was a Klan, what would we call him? The Grand Dragon of the Klan, but he was Jewish. And the other Klan members around his area in Missouri told him that he was fake. They had gave him some death threats, and turned out that his own family members was the ones who ended up killing him. But those other Klan people was planning on getting rid of him themselves. So when we be talking about these things, we have a tendency as a group to group up and surround these same people who stand by and watch us get gunned down and stepped over, trampled, what have you, whatever term you like to use. But when they get in trouble, we bow up right in front of them. It's kind of like the situation down in Baltimore, where a few cops had got murdered by some old white people, and since the black people was mad because our children was being killed and was stepping up, you had a group of black men standing in front of the police. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. Now, I'm all with you with the we need to get rid of slavery in general, but stepping up and fighting these fights for other people. And I know I know we shouldn't overlook things, but I think we should take this time while the focus is not on us, because eventually it will be on us. Let's not get that confused. But while we have this time, we should be getting ready, as you said, because they're always having a focus point on us, even if we don't see it at that particular time.
Also, I want to speak to this though, but they also been deporting black people.
Most definitely.
Yeah, they've been deporting our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean who may have gotten here illegally or whatnot. But look, I'm against slavery, and I will say this. We work with Hispanic activists that's part of the new abolitionist movement, okay, and working with them and trying to bring down private prisons, okay? But that issue is entirely separate, in my opinion, from these undocumented workers that's coming here. That's entirely different. I don't want to see them used as slave labor, no more than I want to see them used as exploited labor outside the prison plantation. And so I'm like Mr. Hayes, though. I don't blame these people. I know who's most responsible for this. And those who are most responsible are not being rounded up and charged with aiding and abetting these undocumented workers by employing them. So when have y'all heard about any of these farms, any of these corporations that's using undocumented workers, hear about them rated, facing criminal charges? If they do get raided, they just get a simple slap on the wrist, a fine. They don't lose their business license. They don't lose nothing. They just pay a little bit of money, and that's it. Well, I think they should be in prison. I think they should be charged with a crime. And these are the very same people that won't give black people jobs. So
you're exactly right. It's you made a statement, and I have been making this statement for a couple of years now. And it just so happens that I was having this same conversation about a week or two ago, and you had mentioned it. I can't remember what show it was on I was listening to, but you had mentioned it about why don't we start giving these people who hire these undocumented immigrants, I would say, the same mandatory minimum that they was pushing on us.
Right.
Why they don't have that same type of system for these people? Like you said, it'll dry up real quick. Because in order for them to be taking jobs, as some people say,
somebody got to be giving it to them. Exactly.
Somebody has to hire them for them to get those jobs.
Exactly.
Whether it's construction work, whether it's being an electrician, or just something as simple as washing windows. Mm-hmm. If you're not willing to pay these people, then they can't work. Simple as that. It's a 1 + 1 = 2 equation.
Yes.
If you take one of those out, then the equation can't be completed. But with that said, I'm gonna sit back and listen. I'm sure I'm gonna have some more to say, so I just mute myself and continue.
Okay.
On.
All right. Anytime, jump back in. Listen, I'm at the top of the hour. I need to take a station identification break. Then I want to share this report from the SPLC from 2007, and although it's from 2007, based off of what Mr. Hayes saying, it's still going on. So hold your calls for a second, and we will come to you on the other side. You're listening to Black Talk Radio News. My name is Scotty Reed. I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc.
The Black Talk Radio Network is made possible in part with help from the Black Talk Media Project, a North Carolina-based nonprofit engaged in the production and distribution of independent digital black media. Find out more by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com or blacktalkmediaproject.org and look for the menu tab, Crowdfunding Black Media. Black Talk Media Project, helping to provide you with new black media for the new millennium.
You are tuned in to Black Talk Radio, new black media for the new millennium. And welcome back to BTR News. My name is Scotty Reed. Before we go back to the calls, SPLC stands for the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is an article that they wrote on January 16, 2007, or a report that they put out. Again, while this may have been issued in 2007, according to Mr. Hayes, this is still going on. It says Latino gang members in Southern California are terrorizing and killing blacks. Acting on orders from the Mexican mafia, Latino gang members in Southern California are terrorizing and killing blacks. Ascending the steep steps that lead from the street to the scene of her son's murder, 47-year-old Louisa Pridehome is charged by a Doberman pincer. Pridehome reaches over her gate and gives the guard dog a rough pat on the head. Sam doesn't seem to remember me, she says. What Pridehome will never forget is that just past the snarling Doberman is the apartment on a hill where 6 years ago her 21-year-old son Anthony was shot in the face with a .25 caliber semi-automatic while lying on a futon she had purchased for him from IKEA. He died wearing a shirt that read, "Keep the Peace." Anthony Prudhomme was slain by members of the Avenues, a Latino street gang, but he was not a rival gang member or a police informant or a drug dealer. The Avenues did not target him for the content of his character or even the contents of his apartment. They targeted him for the color of his skin. Pridehome was murdered because he identified himself as black. He was, in fact, mixed race in a neighborhood occupied by one of the many Latino street gangs in Los Angeles County. Incredibly, even though these gangs are fundamentally criminal enterprises interested mainly in money, gang experts inside and outside the government say that they are now engaged in a campaign of ethnic cleansing, racial terror that is directed solely at African Americans. The way I hear these knuckleheads tell it, they don't want their neighborhoods infested with blacks, as if it's an infestation, says respected Los Angeles gang expert Tony Raphael, who interviewed several Latino street gang leaders for an upcoming book on the Mexican Mafia, the dominant Latino gang in Southern California. It's pure racial animosity that manifests itself in a policy of a major criminal organization. There's absolutely no motive absent the color of their skin, adds former Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Michael Camacho. Before he became a judge in 2003, Camacho successfully prosecuted a Latino gang member for the random shootings of 3 black men in Sonoma, California. They generally don't like African Americans. Sonoma gang unit officer Marcus Perez testified in that case. Again, these are Latinos. That's actually the district attorney that's saying this. Gang unit office, Marcus Perez. These are Latinos telling you how these other Latinos think about black people. He says, he went on to say, if an African American enters their neighborhood, they're likely to be injured or killed. I'm going to end it with this. A comprehensive study of hate crimes in Los Angeles County released by the University of Hawaii in 2000 concluded that while the vast majority of hate crimes nationwide are not committed by members of organized groups, Los Angeles County is a different story. Researchers found that in areas with high concentrations or clusters of hate crimes, the perpetrators were typically members of Latino street gangs who were purposely targeting blacks. I'll leave it there. It's a lot more to read. I have linked to this. It goes and gives more evidence and testimony from the victims and what have you. So this is real. This isn't somebody's imagination. This isn't Mr. Hayes making that up. And from what I hear in Chicago, this also may be part of the problem in Chicago. Now, again, I'm sympathetic to all victims of racism and white supremacy. But at the same time, I'm also not a fool, okay? And I am not going to align myself with people who would just as soon as kill me. Now, again, I'm not painting this picture as all Latinos or whatever, because you got black people who are quote unquote, well, I guess they would be considered Hispanic. In my definition, a Latino means that you white, that you one of them white Hispanic Europeans. You know, that's just me. Because I'm trying not to be confused. Because you got black Mexicans, or whatever you want to call them, Afro-Mexicans, that's being racially abused in Mexico. I've seen the videos of YouTube of them talking about it. So again, I don't align myself based on let me just put it this way. I believe in truth. I believe in justice. And I'm not willing to sweep this under the rug and act like it ain't happening and act like immigration, these undocumented immigrants aren't a problem in our community. And I just have not seen any quote unquote Latino leaders stepping up and speaking out on the national stage to address this terrorism directed towards black people by these gangs or anybody. And I'm also reminded that a black woman just got thrown out of a comedy club when she didn't like, what's that guy named George Lopez, who said that in the Latino community, they got two rules: don't marry black people and don't park in front of our house. And when the black woman stood up and shot him the double bird, and she didn't even say anything, but she shot him the double bird, he gonna attack her, call her a bitch, and then had her thrown out. So again, I work with people of various backgrounds, various ethnicities against modern day slavery and human trafficking because it's a global problem. And it affects a lot of different people in this country, but none more so than black people. And when I read stories of these people who have criminal records, who are undocumented, but yet they getting jobs, but yet our people can't get these jobs. Again, I'm not blaming them. I'm blaming the racist crackers that's exploiting them to our detriment as well. So that's just how I feel about it. This is not a cut and dry issue. The Democratic Party is not going to get me to fall in line with them because I know at the end of the day, they really don't give a damn about these people. And I'm not also going to line myself with Republicans on this issue. So if you're a racist cracker and you might be agreeing with what I say, don't think I'm on your side because I'm not. Because at the end of the day, you the problem. Rob, did you have something else you wanted to add? You might have yourself on mute. Still can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Rob.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the last story you just brought up. It's very interesting. I was in California a couple summers ago for about 2 months. And one of the main things that people was telling me out there, they was like, man, you know, the Mexicans and the blacks really don't jam. You know what I'm saying? And it was, you know, like, you know, kind of, it was tension, you know. So fast forward now hearing this story, you know, us as black people, like, I've been studying chattel slavery over the past week. And, man, slavery was so brutal on us that now that slavery still exists, but it's, you know, it's high tech. You know, it's iPads and you know, all of these different technologies, and you know, everything look fancy, and you know what I'm saying. You think we ain't getting stood on no more, and it seems that everybody is piling on. You know what I'm saying? As I look back, like every other group target black people, like everybody else clientele, from the white people to the Mexican people to the Asians, and like, what do we sell people? You know what I'm saying? Like, as I sit back and look, man, we are the financial base of this country. You understand what I'm saying? And I agree with that last caller. Like, yeah, you know, man, people be, you know what I'm saying, working, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like this, and excuse my language. Like, everybody want to be a nigga, but don't nobody want to be a nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, it just seems that when the chips fall, black people are by themselves, man, because every other ethnic group know that black people, man, are feared the most. And I think, and this is just my opinion, I hope I'm in error, and I could be in error, but it seems behind closed doors, deals are being done against us. And I'll mute my line. Thanks for listening.
Oh, you're welcome. We did have another caller, but I guess she, I'm not sure that was a female, but caller, if you want to give us a call back, the telephone number is 866-510-9025, 510-9025. You can also get in by calling 704-802-5056. Hit star to unmute yourself. Please watch your background noise. I want to transition, still related to immigration, but I want to transition to this story I came across today. Now, to give you some background, why I chose this story, I was listening to a black radio show the other day, and I heard this black man say, and he was talking about black Christians, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. He basically said, you know, the Muslim struggle ain't black people's struggle. And so I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I got Muslims in my family. I got a couple of cousins in New York that practice Islam. I think one of them is a member of the Nation of Islam. That's still a Muslim, whether, you know, it's NOI or whether it is, you know, you got different denominations of Islam, just like you got different denominations of Christians. And I'm just saying to myself, first of all, you talking like you a Christian. So when did Christ, you know, say that, you know, this person's struggle ain't my struggle? You know, I thought Christ, being Christ-like, was standing up against all injustice, standing up against all evil. So that kind of like confused me, because he was identifying, I guess, as a black Christian. But then I'm saying to myself, y'all acting like Muslims ain't black people. You know, like there aren't a lot of black Muslims in this world. There certainly are. And they are being affected by this travel ban, this immigration ban. All right. And so I just thought that was interesting. So today I come across this article from USA Today, one of their affiliates, and I'm going to share a little bit with you. I did link to it in the program description if you want to check the article out. According to an USA Today Network article, Muhammad Ali Jr., yes, that is the son of the late, great black freedom fighter, Muhammad Ali, but Muhammad Ali Jr., 44, and his mother, Khalayla Camacho Ali, the second wife of Muhammad Ali, were arriving at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport on February the 7th after returning from speaking at a Black History Month event in Montego Bay, Jamaica. They were pulled aside while going through customs because of their Arabic-sounding names, according to family friend and lawyer Chris Mancini. Immigration officials let Camacho Ali go after she showed them a photo of herself with her ex-husband. So apparently she carries around a photo of Muhammad Ali and herself, her former husband, her ex-husband. But her son did not have such a photo. Mancini said officials held in question Ali Jr. for nearly 2 hours, repeatedly asking him, "Where did you get your name from, and are you Muslim?" And of course, he said, yes, I'm a Muslim. I'm also an American citizen, as stated on my United States passport. Okay, so again, this just goes to my point about many of these issues being interconnected. You might see Muslims and you thinking Islam and you thinking like them racist crackers on Fox News and like we're at war with Islam, but a number of our global family members of the global black family are Muslim as well. They are Muslim as well. And Muhammad Ali Jr. is a quote-unquote American citizen, but he surely did not get treated like one. Now, I did some research on this, and I went to the Department of Justice website. Again, it's being run by suspected racist. Some say he's been confirmed as a racist. Jeff Beauregard Sessions, who is the new U.S. Attorney General, he's running it now. And again, throughout my study of history and all of the law breaking that U.S. government has been engaged in, and there are different agencies. Again, just cause it's a law don't mean that it applies to you, especially if you black, especially if you non-white, especially if you a black Muslim, okay? And so, but according to the Department of Justice, this was a violation of the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protections Clause. Okay, that's in the Constitution. That's the document these crackers love to cite, being so sacred and being the supreme law of the land. But I certainly had a couple of them say to me in relation to this article, we should just learn to accept this kind of stuff. We are at war, Of course, these was racist cracker suspects that was commenting on my social media profile. Obviously, it wasn't BTR community. It was that other social network. And talking about we at war. And I was like, you damn right we at war. We at war with those who adhere to the religion of white supremacy. I'm not at war with Islam. I'm not at war with Muslims. I'm at war with you racist crackers. That's who I'm at war with. So I also found, even though the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968, now I need to look that one up, because that's different than the one that was passed in the 1990s that was authored by Barack Obama's former vice president, Joe Biden, which was very racist, put a whole lot of slave catchers on the street, which resulted in a whole lot of black people getting put in prison behind them CIA drugs that they flooded the streets with, okay? But according to the Department of Justice, singling out someone based on their religion, which obviously, if you asking him if he's a Muslim, if you're questioning his Muslim name, then you targeting him based on a religion. All right? They saying that that's a violation of the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968. It says that law prohibits discrimination because of national origin, race, color, religion, or sex by a police department that gets federal funds through the U.S. Department of Justice. They may also violate Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination by law enforcement agencies that receive any kind of federal financial assistance, including asset forfeiture property. So this is their Constitution. This is the laws that they pass, that they now showing us don't apply to black people, don't apply to these Muslims. So again, when you start talking that we a nation of law and order like former CEO Barack Obama, miss me with that nonsense, okay? Just miss me with that. Because it's well documented that you care nothing for the rule of law and you violate it every chance you get. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So again, many of these issues are not cut and dry. They are not simple, and they require thought. They require critical thinking. So when I hear black people talking about what do these Muslims being oppressed have to do with us? Well, fool, that's cause we are Muslims. All right? We ain't all just Christians, or some of us don't practice no religion. But what do any of that have to do with it? When one of the black Christian leaders that many of them like to cite, Dr. Martin Luther King, said, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That's what he said. Okay? So I thought I would bring that to your attention to show you a black man from right here in the United States, so-called citizen of the United States, Muhammad Ali Jr., was stopped and frisked at the airport, detained because of his name and his religion and his skin color. Area code 478. Thank you for calling in to Black Talk Radio News. Did you have a question or comment for us?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for taking my call. I was calling in regards to the immigration information. It's been a very good show, lots of information. I guess a couple of things. I went to this presentation once, and this man, he was black, and he was telling us how you can pay enough money to become a citizen, and the way you pay, I think it's I looked it up, it's a visa, I think it's E5, but that's the classification. If you invest $1 million, if you come bringing $1 million for jobs, or $500,000, and you target an area, I guess a high unemployment area, so to speak, they'll let you be a citizen, and you just pay whatever the fees are. And he showed us the list of like people who do that by country. It was overwhelmingly Asian, and what they do, he said, is they expand the region to make it wide enough. Like he was in New York, so instead of just picking like, let's say Bed-Stuy or something, that's a black area, probably need jobs. They'll target all of New York City, which is not necessarily impoverished, and then that Chinese person will probably bring their Chinese people from China, give them the job, so on and so forth. Because you have to employ at least 10 people or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing. And then I live in Georgia, and I work at a school, and yesterday they had like the State of the Union for the school, and they were talking about diversity. And this school is located in a city, not a big city, but the population of the city is about mainly half white, half black, and then, a mixture of other people here and there. And when he was talking about an increase, and the school is primarily white, primarily rich white kids kind of, and I looked online just to verify the black student population is about 7%. So he was talking about how we have to increase diversity efforts to get new students. But when he said that, he specifically said Hispanic and Asian Pacific Islander type students. So he skipped all over a minority population that's right there in the city that you can teach, and went to those populations. So I wanted to bring that up. It's not just the jobs, but it's who gets into schools, and if they get into schools, then they get certain education and so on and so forth. So it's not just the schools. It's not just jobs. It's schools too.
All right. Thank you for that information there. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you. Rob, did you have something else for us, bro? You're still muted, Rob.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, last thing quickly here. The story with Muhammad Ali's ex-wife and his son getting detained. Now, I find that story very interesting because we just lost a great freedom fighter not long ago.
Right.
And, man, he was all over the media, and they was just really acting like they just had just a great amount of love for this man, right?
Right.
Now, fast forward, and y'all detaining his damn family, And my thought process is I just really wonder how that would have played out if he was still alive, and had even happened if he was still alive. And I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, the story caught my eye, and I'm like, okay, they let her go because she had a picture of herself with Muhammad Ali. Well, she telling you that's her son. He has a U.S. passport. What's the problem? What you detaining this man for 2 hours at the airport, questioning him about his religion? This is a violation of their constitution. This is a violation of the laws I just read to you from the Department of Justice website. But again, miss me with that law and order stuff. Like Malcolm X said, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said, anybody that's talking about getting their freedom and talking about what they won't do to get their freedom, because we hear those people, oh, we got to be peaceful, we got to obey the laws, and we want to do it right when we protesting against white supremacy or whatnot. Well, Malcolm X said, if you talking about what you won't do, and you willing to limit yourself to what you will do to get freedom, you don't deserve freedom. They don't adhere to their own laws, okay? They are practicing, they are violating their own laws and creating disorder. So miss me with that kind of talk. I don't care to hear it. And Malcolm X is right. How you gonna tell a slave how to get their freedom and what they should and should not do to get their freedom? If you are talking that kind of crap, then you don't want freedom. You won't want us freedom as much as you think you want us to believe you want freedom. 423, did you have a question or comment? Hold on, 423. Let me take my last break of the night, I should say, and then I'll come to you. A couple of more stories I do want to touch upon. Hillary Clinton putting out a video today, crawling out from under whatever rock she was under. And now there's a new pay-to-play scandal involving her and Barack Obama. And then I also want to talk about why are people, especially black people, talking about defending the U.S. corporate media just cause Donald Trump attacking them or he banning them when they got a history of playing a very critical role in the enslavement of black people, in the justifying the white terrorism against black people, demonizing our freedom fighters, just like Rob just brought up how they treated Muhammad Ali back in the day, how they demonized the Black Panthers back in the day, how they even demonized Dr. King back in the day. All right, and worked directly with the CIA and the FBI to put out fake news. If you had that history, you would not be coming to the defense of the U.S. media. You'll let them crackers fight among themselves. So you're listening to BTR News. This is a weekly news and commentary program. I broadcast this program every Saturday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. By all means, this is not the only media that I'm producing. Please check out my last podcast that I put out. I did an interview with a Hawaiian activist talking about how racist USA threatened their monarch with murder and mass killings in order to take over those islands, and how they are now victims of modern day slavery and human trafficking. So check out that short interview with Sister Maui from Hawaii on that particular issue. And I hope, I've been sick for about a week and a half. I'm feeling a lot stronger now. Thank you for all the well wishes. That's why I wasn't on air last Saturday, and why I have not been issuing, podcasts is because I have been sick with the flu. But I am over that now. I still haven't recovered my voice fully, but I'm doing a whole lot better. So thank you for all those well wishes. We'll be back on the other side.
not a writer.
Okay.
Black Talk Radio, since 2008, providing new black media for the masses. And welcome back to BTR News. Before we jump back into the program, do want to remind you, if you are interested in a new online black social experience, please check out btrcommunity.com. It is a social media outlet for Black Talk Radio Network and all our listeners. We do not have ads or anything on the site. How do we pay for it? With a small subscription of just $24 a year. That's the most economical form of subscription, but we also have subscriptions for $1 a week or $5 a month. And again, $24 a year. So please join btrcommunity.com if you're looking for a new online black social experience. Also, if you've been paying attention to the recent moves at the FCC, which is under Republican chairmanship, they have been rolling back consumer internet protections. I'm still looking up more information on that, but they have already started to dismantle net neutrality rules. I actually did a video about that weeks ago. I'll be doing another video about it here shortly. But what net neutrality could end up doing is shutting out black independent platforms like BlackTalkRadioNetwork.com, like BlackAgendaReport.com, like any of these independent black news sites, where these networks will be able to slow down the traffic to our websites. Meaning, if you try to access our website on whatever network of your ISP provider, they're not going to treat all internet websites equally. They can pay a little money and they can get visitors to their websites, no problem. But if you ain't got money to pay, then guess what? They may not be able to access your website through that network. And I already have contingency plans that I have put in action. But again, this is why it is important for us to fund the independent media. All right. And you can help fund independent black media by making a donation of any amount to the Black Talk Media Project. We also accept checks or money orders. You can pay online via PayPal. Our address is Black Talk Media Project, P.O. Box 65, Mount Holly, North Carolina, 28120. But more than that, check out also crowdfunding black media. There's a tab that's on blacktalkradionetwork.com, also on blacktalkmediaproject.org, where you can see where it's documented how they used the 1996 Telecommunication Act to shut down our black radio stations. And that's why, we have so few of those today. And now we have found refuge through digital radio on the internet. But now this could have the same impact in quieting our voices. It's very important that you support independent media. If you want to continue to see us exist as a platform, please do whatever you can to help. All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and take this call. I think this might be Jerry again, area code 423. You got a question or a comment?
Yes, I was on to speak on the young lady who was just speaking about the schools, and you bring this point up a lot about how we teach our children, whether we're doing homeschool, they're going to public school, charter schools, or what have you. We always have to do something at home, but we have it's a big system that we're continuously fighting on with this school system, with our children being kicked out of school for minor instances, whether it may be a fight, talking back. They always escalate something that we're doing. And what she said, I've read about this, but I didn't go too deep into it to figure it out because I was doing some other things that took priority. But we should have seen this coming. I mean, Dr. Clyde Anderson said that we was going to be the minority of the minorities. And what I had said earlier, as far as like all of these immigrants coming in, they shun away all of the immigrants with dark skin. They allow all of the immigrants in with lighter skin. When you doing something on the phone or on the computer, you always see it have something to do with Spanish. They was letting us know. They was dropping us little tidbits here and there to let us know that this was getting ready to happen. Most of us just clicked no and went on. We dismissed the whole notion of Latinos or Mexicans or what have you, Spanish-speaking countries coming in and overtaking our place. We were second place for a long time. Then we became third place. And right now we're getting ready to be pushed into fourth place. We know that they have no problems with murdering us. We know that they have no problem with murdering anybody. So this goes back to the point that I was saying, because I agree with you wholeheartedly about not letting this go for anybody being mistreated. But we still have to take some time to ourselves and make a game plan, a real game plan, not just talk about we're going to do this and we're going to do this if this happens. Because if we look back on history, all of this that's playing out right now, it had happened before.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it'll be a whole lot worse. And what I mean by that is that at first when it happened, we was, with the segregation and everything, we depended upon ourselves. Now we're so dependent, even if you're an independent person, you're so dependent on this white supremacist culture, whether you know it or not, whether we're talking about the banks, gas stations, the bus system, taxi cabs, jobs, and we can go so on and so forth. As long as we continue, we have become so much more dependent on this white supremacist society that we have to figure out what we're going to do. The brother, I want to say it's Ross, but I know it's not Ross.
Rob.
But the brother Rob, the brother Rob was talking about as far as like in his city, being the worst city. Well, all of us have that particular mind frame as far as how we're being treated. Now I know he's going on statistics.
Yeah, literally, he is telling the truth. Literally, statistically.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not dismissing that, but what I'm saying is that all of us, when we go around our neighborhoods, whether we done moved out or we're still there, we see the same things that he sees. But there's not many of us that's making an effort, whether we going, let's say, we trying to get into the 4X to where we can get away from working for somebody. And not only us as adults, but teaching our children. You know, if we put it in the form of a game or what have you, whatever to grab their interest, we have to get away from bringing these children up and telling them that they have to go to college, because we don't tell them when they go to college they get this debt, you know, unless they go to the military, got a scholarship. Because let's be honest, all of our children are not going to get scholarships. All of our children are not going to the military. So instead of telling them that if you go to college you're going to get this debt, we tell them to go to college and get a good job and work for somebody else. Well, it costs so much less and it takes so much less time to get a trade.
Right.
Man, it's hard to get to start your own business doing a trade. That it is. I know, because I have a few trades myself living in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where it is dominated by white supremacy. It's hard to get into those spaces, but I didn't know what I know now, so it wasn't even in my thought pattern to just subcontract myself out instead of going and putting in a job application.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a thought pattern that we have to have, that we have to change. with the children that we come in contact, whether they are our children, our nephews, nieces, younger cousins, and things of that nature. So with that being said, I'm going to let you go ahead on and continue your program, Scotty.
All right, Jerry. All right. Thanks. Let me see how much time we got. I got about 16 minutes, so I just want to fast forward it. I think I made myself clear on where I stand on this immigration. It is not a simple issue. It's a complex issue. And when I came across that video, even though I had already started developing those same things as I was just thinking about this issue, because I never want to be on the side of injustice. I never want to be on that side of any kind of issue. But this is no simple issue. And so I'm not going to automatically say just because Donald Trump is doing it or pushing it or what, I'm going to be against it. No, I'm looking at it. How is it impacting my community? How is it? And we're not talking about injustice here now. Like Mr. Hayes said, I can't go to Mexico and get a job. It's in their constitution that Mexicans first, that Mexicans have to be hired first, or no Mexican wants the job. And I ain't got nothing against these people except for them terrorists. You know, if you're a racist, then hey, you can get it. But, I try not to apply the actions of some to all. But at the same time, though, I have to be honest. I have to look at this deeply, and it is harming us. It is harming us as black people. So I made where I stand on this clearly. All right. If I'm gonna be standing up for anybody, okay, I had lost my thought. But this is what I'm saying. All the people I've been reading about been convicted of crimes that they've been deporting out of Charlotte, that they've been catching. Either multiple DUIs, one of them had molested a child, and then, a lot of times they operating off of stolen identities, whether the person is dead or whatever. And our people can't get away with nothing like that. So let's not act like a crime is being committed against these people. You know how many people, especially, I was looking at the Slammer the other day. Do you know how many people I saw in that paper being locked up for identity theft or for some kind of fraud and getting benefits that the government say they ain't supposed to have and all? So if that's happening to us, why should I feel sorry for somebody else that's doing the same thing? So, again, I'm for justice. That's at the end of the day, I'm for justice, but I don't see how deporting criminals is injustice. Especially if they part of these gangs that's terrorizing our communities. And I'm like, how in the hell is that going on in LA? I don't even want to go down that road. Anyway, the Wicked Witch, known as Hillary Clinton, put out a video today interjecting herself into the current political climate, trying to get people riled up and to stay out there in the streets against Donald Trump. I like Barack Obama. I was hoping that we would never hear from them again. But again, they was able to get one of their cronies in, Tom Perez, as the new chairman of the DNC. So I guess she felt emboldened. So anyway, I came across another story that has come out in an exclusive being reported by Radar Online about a new pay-to-play scandal that has emerged that she was involved in. And it appears the Obama administration too. You mark my words, Obama finna be just like Bill Clinton. Watch. He finna roll just like them Clintons. So anyway, let me pull this up. Now, you might hear some ads and stuff. Let me try to mute those or some of these videos. I am not interested in hearing anything from that murderous Hillary Clinton. Let me see. Okay. This is what Radar Online published today. I'm trying to make sure these ads don't start up. says Hillary Clinton is off the campaign trail, but the scandals keep coming. RadarOnline.com has exclusively learned that the disgraced Politico secretly took cash from a New York-based weapon manufacturer, one who coincidentally secured a shady $418 million deal on the last day of the Obama administration. A world-exclusive radar investigation uncovered troubling links between Clinton and L3 Technologies, an arms manufacturer that recently won a megabucks deal to provide 14 warplanes to Kenya. Other high-ranking Democrats, such as John Kerry and the late Ted Kennedy and his son Patrick, were also implicated in the probe. All right, why are they bringing up Ted Kennedy? That man been long dead. According to Federal Election Commission records exclusively obtained by Radar, L3 Technologies Political Action Committee directly donated to Clinton as far back as 2005. What's more, Radar discovered in other instances L3's PAC contributed funds to other PACs that then funneled money to Clinton. For instance, on April the 23rd, 2007, and again on February the 21st, 2008, L3 PACs donated 1,000 to Best PAC, which then gave 2,300 to Clinton for president on February 18, 2008, while she battled Barack Obama for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. And a lot of people forget the racist campaign she ran against Barack Obama, including Barack Obama. Man showed no self-respect. How you going to give a job to a person who is calling for you to be assassinated? Years later, L3 cashed in to the tune of nearly $500 million with a bombshell deal. This January, L3 Technologies was contracted to provide 12 warplanes, 2 trainer planes, and services for missions to be waged against the so-called Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group Al-Shabaab. The sale was approved by the State Department, headed by Secretary of State John Kerry, and privately advised to Congress on January the 19th. Shockingly, the deal was inked despite the fact that another arms company, one founded by a U.S. Army veteran, had submitted a bid for $180 million less than half of the tab built by L3, according to critics. See, this is pay-to-play graph. What's more, while L3 has reportedly never before produced the sort of planes involved in the deal, the other lower-cost company, IOMAX USA, which is out of Mooresville, North Carolina. So some North Carolinians would have got some jobs if they'd have won the contract, have made these very planes for years. The deal has raised eyebrows among both Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill and has more than a few calling for a congressional investigation. My office has received credible allegations of faulty contracting practices, fraud, and unfair treatment surrounding this sale, said North Carolina Congressman Ted Budd. For example, let me see. No, actually, it's a lot more. I don't want to read all of this. It's very long. They provide more documentation. But again, now how is this not pay to play? I had some people, I shared an article, and what do these Clintonites like to say? Oh, that's the Republican smear job, and that came from the Clinton cash stuff. Look, these people are crooks. All right, and well-documented crooks. Ain't nobody manufacturing none of this evidence. Either they did it or they did not. And it's awful funny that once she lost her bid to become CEO of USA Inc., and I'm going to tell y'all, I don't think Donald Trump was meant to get in there. I know some people say that all presidents are selected, but they didn't want that uncodified racist in there. They wanted a more refined racist in there that's going to not make them look racist. That's why they wanted Hillary Clinton. That's where all the big money went to Hillary Clinton. I'm just telling you, they just did not expect The people that turned out, and the people that stayed home to stay home. And apparently they did not have it in place to flip a whole bunch of votes electronically this time around. I do not believe the powers that be wanted Donald Trump in there. Okay, because he's embarrassing them. You're supposed to practice racism on the down low, dude. You ain't supposed to be all out front with it. And so, but anyway, these people are crooks. Now, when she lost the election, why did all of a sudden the donations quit going to the Clinton Foundation? Why was Bill Clinton then begging people to donate and talking about I'll match you however much money if you give this money to the Clinton Foundation? They was flush with cash before the election, okay? But after the election, all of a sudden, the money dried up. These are crooks, people. And Barack Obama is of the same vein. And unfortunately, he got one of his cronies, Tom Perez, in there. And they herald, and this goes to our immigration thing, but they saying he the first elected Latino leader of the DNC. Okay? I just thought that I should mention that. Now, the last thing I want to mention is, why are black people going to bat for the U.S. corporate media because Donald Trump banned CNN, New York Times, and whoever else he banned? What do y'all care? What business is it of yours? Okay? Why are you acting like we got a dog in this fight? I will tell you that going all the way back to the colonial days in the printing press, that these corporate American news media have been producing racist propaganda, demonizing non-white folks, justifying the genocide of non-white folks, justifying the enslavement of black folks, justifying the terrorism against us. This goes all the way back to the colonial days in the printing press. I can point you to FBI's COINTELPRO. I've interviewed journalists. I can never get her name right, but she ended up joining the Black Panther Party. She's an elder now. And she used to work in the corporate media back then. And she said even the black radio stations was in on it, where the FBI would give them a press release demonizing whoever the black person they was targeting in that area, and they would just read it verbatim. Okay? That guy that used to interview Malcolm X, what was his name? Mike Wallace, COINTELPRO operative. He wasn't asking. If you really pay attention to how they would question anybody black, they was trying to gather intelligence. And that really stood out to me when Malcolm X was talking about invisible movements that were going to spring up in regards to police terrorism and violence against the black community. And then here come Mike Wallace. What kinds of movements and who's involved and all? He was collecting information for the FBI. This is CBS, ABC, NBC, the big three have long been involved working for the FBI to demonize black freedom movements, and also the CIA to propagandize the American people so that they'll get behind wars. Not that they need much convincing, because they love killing non-white people, but they feed them a whole bunch of lies about this leader or that leader, and we need to go over there and save so-and-so, and we need to overthrow the country. We saw that with the news they was producing on Libya, reporting this unconfirmed reports talking about he was killing his own people, when really it was Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda terrorists that was just killing people, and he was responding to that. But of course, the whole plan was to overthrow him to prevent him from implementing the gold dinar as the gold standard for African-backed united currency. So I don't understand this. Well, I do. Because Donald Trump is a racist, is a despicable person and whatnot. Anybody who's against him, you're for them. But you never stop to question whether or not Donald Trump is telling you the truth. Malcolm X said, I'm for the truth, no matter who tell it. And Donald Trump is telling the truth about the news media. He most certainly is. And now he's only speaking this truth is because they've been mean to him. Now, if they was nice to him and whatnot, he wouldn't have problem with them. But because they've been launching personal and petty attacks on him, now he telling the truth about them and he calling them out. And he doing. But again, what do black people have to do with that? And why are you taking the side of an industry that plays a vital role in white supremacy? Look up Operation Mockingbird. Do your research on COINTELPRO. These the same people that's always pushing negative imagery about black people, but now because they up against Donald Trump and they battling with Donald Trump, oh, you gonna pick a side? You ain't got no dog in this fight. Shut up. You being stupid and ignorant. Them crackers don't care nothing about you. They've been lying to you. These the same ones that I documented in a video when they had the 150th anniversary of, what was it, the 13th Amendment. Then if the 13th Amendment, they talking about celebrating it and all this. Well, if the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, why didn't you publish the whole text of the 13th Amendment? Why did you only post the portion that says involuntary servitude, slavery and involuntary servitude shall be abolished, and then you left it off to all the rest? I documented this in a video in paper after paper after paper after paper that was talking about the 13th Amendment, but they did not publish the 13th Amendment, which is only a couple of sentences. These people engage in deception by trade. Just last week on that's still this week, Tando Radio Show played a clip of Brezhnev. I forget how to say his name. That Russian dude who worked, I think he got his start with the Carter administration. He's been around. But anyway, they had his daughter on because, see, it's a family affair. These criminals always groom their kids to take their place. And so his daughter was on CNN talking about it's our job to control the people's minds, not Donald Trump's job. Go look up that clip. I wasn't shocked, but I was taken aback that she said that on air live. And you sitting up here taking the side of the media. Donald Trump said he's not going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner in Washington, D.C. And so I was seeing people talking about him. What's wrong with him? He's scared and all this and that. I'm like, man, that's right there show you that there is no separation between the American corporate media and the U.S. government. This is a White House sponsored dinner for the American news media. And somebody shared a clip of Barack Obama at one of these. And I want y'all to hear what this criminal said, what this murderer said. This is the kind of stuff they talk about and joke about, these racist crackers in media.
The Jonas brothers are here. They're out there somewhere. Sasha and Malia are huge fans. But boys don't get any ideas. I have 2 words for you. Predator drones. You will never see it coming. You think I'm joking?
This is a CEO of USA Inc. who has murdered several American citizens with drones. But I don't hear no racist crackers who talk about the Constitution and all of that standing up for the Al-Awlaki family. They just killed actually Donald Trump just killed his 8-year-old daughter in his first drone action that he ordered or he gave clearance to. Here is Barack Obama, who killed more people by drone than George Bush. Lots of women, lots of children, lots of families. And he's at this White House Correspondents' Dinner with the news media joking about killing people with drones. And they was laughing. They were laughing. They were laughing. It was all a joke to them. Okay? This is who we dealing with. So I don't see why anybody who believes in justice or who believes in truth would be trying to stand up or stick up for this American news media, one of the most racist entities on the face of the planet. So those are my thoughts on that. I've come to the end of the program. I'm actually with a couple of minutes over. I don't like to go over because I'm a big fan of the Context of White Supremacy compensatory call-in, which airs on the Black Talk Radio Network at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. They run their own channel or their own digital station. That's why you don't hear it on this station, but please check out their station. You can access it through blacktalkradionetwork.com. So I'm going to go ahead and end the program. I want to thank you all for joining me here tonight. Again, thank you for the well wishes while I was sick and, not able to fully fulfill my duties to you. But thank you. I'm feeling a lot better now. Be on the lookout for more media that I will be putting out through the week, but I will be back live on air with another weekly broadcast of BTR News next Saturday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Recognize the fact that we live behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. It's a battlefield out there. They still practicing slavery and engaged in human trafficking, and it's not going to end itself. And we need to end it by any means necessary. Like Malcolm X said, how you gonna have the word freedom in your mouth but then limit what you willing to do to get it? Peace and blessings to all. I'm out.